My name is Emma Parker. I'm 29 years old, and the day my parents told me I was no longer their daughter, I thought they had finally gone too far. I was sitting at our family dining table when my father pushed a stack of papers toward me. "Your brother owes $86,000, he said. "You're going to help him pay it." I stared at him. "Why me?" my mother answered without hesitation. "Because you can afford it." My brother Tyler sat silently beside her. He didn't even look embarrassed. Then Dad said something I would never forget. "If you won't help your brother, you don't belong in this family." I looked around the table, and for the first time, I realized something. They weren't asking me to help Tyler. They were demanding that I sacrifice myself for him, and they had no idea that the house we were sitting in had a secret. A secret I had kept for years. Tyler had always been the favorite. When he needed money for college, my parents helped him. When he bought an expensive car he couldn't afford, Dad covered the payments. When Tyler started a business and lost money, Mom told everyone he was still finding himself. I had never asked them for much. At 23, I moved out. At 25, I bought a small apartment. By 27, I had started investing in real estate. One of the properties I purchased was my parents' house. They didn't know. I bought it through an investment company and allowed them to continue living there under a long-term agreement. Why? Because I wanted them to have security. I never told them because I didn't want praise. I simply wanted to know that my parents would always have a home. Ironically, the people who called me selfish were living under a roof I secretly owned. Tyler's debt started with his business. He had borrowed money from several lenders. Then the business failed. Instead of accepting responsibility, he blamed everyone else. The bank, his business partner, the economy, even Dad. Eventually, the debt became impossible to ignore. That's when my parents came to me. "You have savings," Dad said. "I worked for those savings." Family helps family. I looked at Tyler. "Why can't you sell your car?" He became angry. "That car is necessary. You bought a luxury car 6 months ago. That's not the point." I looked at Mom. "Why are you asking me to pay for his decisions?" She shook her head. "You've always been difficult." I almost laughed. "Difficult?" Dad slammed his hand on the table. "Enough." Then he pushed the papers toward me again. "Sign this loan agreement." I didn't touch it. "No." Silence. Tyler finally looked at me. "You're really going to let your own brother lose everything?" I answered. "I'm not responsible for your debt." Dad stood up. "If you walk away, don't come back." I stared at him. "Is that a threat?" "No." He pointed toward the door. "It's a decision." My mother began crying, but she didn't stop him, so I stood. I picked up my purse, and I walked out. I expected them to call me the next day. They didn't. A week passed. Nothing. Then my mother sent one message. "You chose money over family. Don't contact us again." I read it twice. Then I deleted it. I didn't respond. For the first time, I stopped trying to earn their approval. I focused on my work. My investments grew. My life became peaceful. Then, 3 months later, I received an unexpected phone call. It was my property manager. "Emma, we have a problem." "What happened?" "The tenants at the Parker property haven't paid their monthly fees." I froze. "My parents, what do you mean?" "They haven't paid for 3 months." I checked the agreement. They had been given a grace period, but now the deadline was approaching. I could have enforced the contract immediately. Instead, I called Mom. She answered after several rings. "What?" "Mom, why haven't you paid the housing fees?" She became defensive. "Because your father lost some work." I paused. "Are you okay?" She sounded annoyed. "We're fine." "Then what's happening?" "Don't worry about us." I sighed. "Mom, I need you to take this seriously." "Why?" "Because the property agreement is in my name." Silence. Then she laughed. "What are you talking about?" I said. "The house belongs to me." She stopped breathing for a moment, then whispered, "What?" The next morning, my parents showed up at my apartment. Dad was furious. "You bought our house?" "Yes." "You've been our landlord?" "Yes." He stared at me. "Why didn't you tell us?" I looked at him. "Would it have changed anything?" He didn't answer. Mom started crying. "We thought you hated us." "I don't hate you." "Then why would you do this?" "I bought the house because I wanted you to have somewhere safe to live." Dad looked away. I continued. "I never expected anything in return." Then I reminded him of what he had said months earlier. "If you won't help Tyler, you don't belong in this family." His face changed. I was angry. "So was I." Mom stepped closer. Please don't take our home. I looked at her. I don't want to. She started crying harder. Then what do you want? I answered honestly. I want you to stop treating me like an emergency fund. Dad sat down. For the first time in my life, I saw him look defeated. What about Tyler? I almost smiled. Tyler has to deal with his own debt. Dad shook his head. He's your brother. Yes, but family helps family. I looked directly at him. Family also takes responsibility. Nobody spoke. Then Dad quietly asked, "Can we stay?" I nodded. "You can stay." Mom looked relieved. "But things are going to change." She nodded. "No more demanding money from me." Dad looked down. "No more treating Tyler like a child." He nodded. "And no more telling me I'm not family because I won't sacrifice my future for someone else's mistakes." Mom whispered, "Okay." The next few months were difficult. Tyler blamed me. He told relatives that I had humiliated our parents. Some family members called me cruel. One aunt even said, "You should just pay the debt. You're clearly doing better than him." I asked her one question. "Would you pay $86,000 for someone who refuses to change?" She had no answer. Eventually, Tyler had to sell his car. He closed the failing business. He negotiated a repayment plan. For the first time, he had to live with the consequences of his choices. It wasn't easy, but slowly he began changing. 6 months later, Dad called me. "Emma, yes, I want to apologize." I remained silent. He continued, "I treated you differently from Tyler for years." I didn't interrupt. "I convinced myself that because you were responsible, you didn't need us." My throat tightened. "That wasn't fair." "No," he sighed. "I was wrong." I believed him, but forgiveness wasn't automatic, so I said, "I appreciate you saying that." He paused. "Does that mean we're okay?" I smiled sadly. "It means we're starting." A year after everything happened, my mother invited me to dinner. I almost said no, but I went. The same dining table was there, the same kitchen, the same walls, but something felt different. Tyler was there too. He looked older, more mature. He stood when I entered. "Emma." "Hey." He looked uncomfortable. "I owe you an apology." I nodded. "I know. I blamed you for my debt." "You did." I was embarrassed. "I understand." He looked down. "I thought you were trying to make me feel small." I answered. "I wasn't. I know that now." Then he said something I never expected. "You were the only person who ever told me the truth." I smiled. "Sometimes the truth hurts." He laughed quietly. "Yeah." After dinner, Dad walked me outside. He stood beside me on the porch. "Do you remember when you were little?" he asked. "What? You used to say you would buy this house someday." I laughed. "I did. You said you'd make it beautiful." I looked back at the house. "I guess I did." Dad smiled. "You did." Then he looked at me. "I wish I had understood you sooner." I hugged him, not because everything was forgotten, because I finally believed he was trying. I never told my parents that buying their house had originally been an act of love. They probably understood that now. But the most important thing I learned wasn't about money. It was about boundaries. For years, I believed being a good daughter meant saying yes. Yes to money. Yes to sacrifices. Yes to fixing Tyler's mistakes. Yes to keeping everyone happy. But love without boundaries becomes resentment. And helping someone doesn't mean destroying yourself to save them. My parents disowned me because I refused to pay my brother's $86,000 debt. They thought they had lost a daughter. Then they discovered that the daughter they rejected was the person who secretly owned the roof over their heads. I could have thrown them out. I could have taken the house back. I could have made them feel the same pain they had caused me. But I didn't. Because I didn't want revenge, I wanted respect. And eventually, I got something even better. A family that finally understood my worth. Not because I paid their bills, not because I rescued Tyler, but because I finally stopped allowing them to decide what my love was worth. And that was the day I realized. Sometimes the strongest way to love your family is to stop enabling them.